I will never turn down tacos, or any food for that matter. My parents are proud immigrants from Mexico. This makes me an equally proud first-generation Mexican-American. Something most everyone can say about Mexican culture is the fact that it has richness in its food, family, friendship, and faith. My family owns and operates a Mexican restaurant. I think that constitutes us as pretty family and food-centered. When you think Mexican food, you might first think tacos, right? That makes sense. Tacos are delicious, and if I could eat them for every meal of every day, I would. Quick Spanish lesson. Sharing tacos is translated into compartiendo unos tacos. That is its literal translation. Figuratively, however, compartiendo unos tacos means so much more to me than just enjoying a meal with loved ones. As I mentioned, my parents opened a restaurant here that serves Mexican food. They figured people always need to eat. They also figured they had 10 kids to feed. I know. Over time, though, it became more than just a business venture. It became an opportunity to engage with people, tell stories, and just connect. A lot of immigrants in the United States find themselves in the same situation as my parents in coming from a different country to a land of opportunity and such diversity. And really, what better way to create a home with meaningful relationships and simultaneously share a part of your own culture and past life than to share some food that people here may otherwise never have eaten? Ladies and gentlemen, imagine never having tasted a taco. And I don't mean the kind you can get at a drive-thru. I mean a carefully prepared taco made with perfectly seasoned meat, topped with a fresh salsa made with ingredients that you grew in your own garden, something you spent hours on. Sounds good, huh? Yeah. Well, imagine not being able to appreciate that deliciousness with your friends and your family. This is something so common yet prevalent in my family's culture. And through this sharing of food comes the sharing of culture. Entertain me here for a second. Imagine that in some alternative universe, if only Mexican people could enjoy something like tacos. Or if only Italian people could eat Italian food. Or if only Chinese people could appreciate something like wontons. In America, without Mexican food, unimaginable. Here in our country, we have the ability to enjoy food from a vast selection of cultures. It's truly amazing. And while I do recommend you do so at least once in your life, you don't even have to leave the country to get a taste of another country's culture. It is, however, important to acknowledge that we're only able to enjoy these multicultural meals because immigrants and indigenous people first decided to share them at some point in time. As a result of that, we've become a more diverse and connected human race. Let's face it, Mexican food is so ingrained into the existing food culture in the United States. But notice how it's not limited to just being consumed by Mexican people. It's food that everybody can enjoy. This offering of food is also very important to Mexican culture. Through my family's restaurant, we've been able to embody this spirit of creating experiences with people here in Dayton, and through that, a chance at increased connection. While I admit I would not be the same person I am today had I not started working at the family restaurant since the age of 11, I have to say, restaurant life is often romanticized, especially family-run restaurants. Working with family can be great, but while I stand here and speak to you about the human connection, I have to say that working to serve and connect with our customers has created a sort of disconnect within my family. We went from being best friends and playing pretend in our childhood to desperately trying to get through an evening rush, maybe snapping at each other a few times. No, definitely snapping at each other a few times. You know what, though? Everyone who's worked in customer service knows that feeling you get when you're at the tail end of your shift and all you can think about is going home and washing the day off. You know that feeling, right? Well, at the restaurant, we had this sort of ritual that, especially after a wild night, one or two of us will go around and ask each other what they'd like to eat. They then go into the kitchen, prepare it, and we eat. It's what makes us feel connected. Despite the frustrations of the day, we get to sit, eat, and lament in the evening, telling stories about that crazy customer who gave us more trouble than we deserved, or the table who left us a gracious tip and great conversation. Despite the exhaustion of the day, it's the food that made us feel like a normal family. I have to admit, though, I've never cared much for cooking. I mean, I've always been breakfast queen, but cooking a full-on meal, not so much. I figured working at the restaurant was enough for me. It's not until I got into a serious relationship that I actually enjoyed cooking a little bit more. And it's only because he really, really loves to cook. Sometimes we even cook together. See, for me, this act of cooking together, or one of us cooking for the other, is so much more than just, wow, look at this amazing meal you made. Let's dig a little here. Food is what nourishes our bodies. We literally cannot live without it. We'll die. When someone cooks for you, or you cook for someone, it's like saying, I care about you being alive. When we think about food, we normally think it's meant to solve just one thing, when in reality, food does so much more than just solve the feeling of hunger. I'm convinced that sitting and sharing a meal with someone you care about does so much more than just feed your stomach. To me, sharing tacos means togetherness, unity. It symbolizes that the person you are sharing a meal with is someone you desire to share moments with. Think of it as a friendship bracelet or a love note that you can eat. At the same time, this notion of sharing tacos doesn't always have to be experienced with friends, family, or loved ones. Sometimes it's even with perfect strangers. Sometimes it's with people you believe you have no real connection to. Currently, I'm in pursuit of a master's degree in international and comparative politics. Say that 5 times fast. I'm part of a cohort of 13 people. We are 13 people from all walks of life, different parts of the country, some of us even from abroad. So my first semester, we had this late evening class, and my professor, who's actually from across the pond, suggested we take turns bringing in food so we could have a dinner break. Because of this, we got to enjoy Mexican food, Ghanaian food, Italian food, Russian food, and even Bangladeshi food. And more likely than not, we had just spent the previous hour or so getting into some pretty spicy conversation about something like realism versus constructivism. Don't even get me started. You know what? Despite the fact that we have all these differing opinions on how to solve all of these international problems, Lord knows we do, it's the food that brought us together. That was the one thing we could all agree on. The food was delicious. And from there, bonds and genuine friendships were able to be made. See, that's what this is about. Connection. Human connection, to be specific. It's a reoccurring theme in my experiences with my family, relationships, and even complete strangers. And I credit food to a majority of those experiences. I crave connection to other people the same way I crave food. And hunger is something all of humanity shares. Every single person in this room has the capacity to create meaningful connections with somebody else. Nowadays, we need that more than ever. How about we start right now? Guys, Vamos a compartir unos tacos.